Buenos días a todos, bienvenidos. Hoy tenemos el gusto de compartir estos seminarios con una estudiante china, es de origen chino, es Yifei Yang, como veis ahí, es de Zhejiang University, la Universidad de Zhejiang, y nos va a hablar un poco de algo muy íntimo y personal, y son sus experiencias alrededor de un viaje que empieza en China, ha pasado por Suecia, ahora está en España y luego irá a Estados Unidos. Como veis es muy largo y muy formativo, así que damos la bienvenida. Welcome,
Okay.
Yifei, ni hao.
Ni hao, okay.
When you want, you can start. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay.
And sure you are going to do it very well.
Hopefully, yeah, I guess. Buenos días. Hello, everyone. I thank you for the introduction, even if I don't really get the meaning at all. But so maybe for some of you who doesn't really understand Spanish like I do, I can just introduce myself a bit in English. My name is Yifei Yang, and I'm studying biotechnology in Zhejiang University. This is my final year of my bachelor program, and I'm doing here my bachelor thesis in the Department of Material Science. Okay, and my topic today is about education and research experience as a Chinese student in China. Since I have been lived and raised up in China for all my life, and I've studied all my life, all the time under the Chinese education system, I think I'm a pretty good example of what the effect and benefits and the shortcomings of this whole education system. So first of all, is this working? Yeah. My contents of the presentation will be as following. First, I would like to talk about the evolution of Chinese history, Chinese education. It is a pretty big topic. And then I want to talk about the general education system in modern China society. And it will be following as my own experience as a kind of illustration or example of this system. And the following will be about my student research experience. And finally will be the Q&A sessions in case you are really curious about the exotic Chinese culture and education as well. First, since we are such a country with such a long history, so I would like to talk about the history of Chinese education first. And because I have also a minor in this Chinese culture and philosophy, it's just like really a great opportunity for me to present my ancient glorious past to people as well. Okay, first you can see the picture on the left. He is Confucius and his students. So I think Confucius is already known as really famous philosophy of ancient China, but he is also recorded as the first teacher in Chinese history as well. I think people always want to make these comparisons between Confucius and Socrates because they are all the marvelous thinker of their time, and they are all expelled from the mainstream society in their lifetime. But I think the main similarity between them is they are all what you call like active educational practitioner. It is like they pass down their thinking and their literacy to the following generations, and it is because of their accomplished students in the following generations made their original thinking become the orthodox school of the whole society. So, and because Confucius, the whole school of Confucius and his philosophy has become the only mainstream thinking of Chinese society. So I've been before the whole revolution thing, like the following dynasty, all the scholars are considered themselves as the students of Confucius because they study this like his masterpiece and his literacy opinions. Okay, and since Confucius is such an active practitioner in education, and in the following years, there has been formed and standardized the main content of the education inside the school. It is called like 6 arts. In Chinese, it's called like 6艺. It is like the sixth field you should know and you should master, not necessarily master, but you should know something about these 6 fields. And it is about rites, which is like ceremonies and rituals, because in China we pay a lot of attention to our past. So the rituals, like you honor your ancestors, is a like really important part of our life. So first you have to know about rites, and second about music. Confucius himself is a man who is really interested in music, there's one little story about him. It's like he once listened to this music of Xiao. It is like original music, something like that. And he's like, I'm just so lost in the music, and I couldn't taste the flavor of meat. I couldn't taste the flavor of meals in the following 3 days. So he's pretty interested in music. So music become really important part of Chinese education as well. I don't have to learn, but in the ancient, they have to learn several different musical instruments, like a flute or like either like this string piano stuff. And archery, it is like a bow and charioteering. It is the horse riding, and the calligraphy. It is for people to write and read. And the last one will be mathematics. It's more related with natural science. So at this point, you can see like rites, music, calligraphy, and mathematics can be considered as the civil education, and archery and charioteering can be considered as this martial education. So at this point, and following the establishment of this main content of education, there is a more centralized school called Guozijian. It is only focused on the education of the royal family, all the famous clans. And so it is like they have this organized school. Maybe it is more like a prototype of the modern schools as well. And you can see from the main contents of the 6 R's, there's still a balance between the civil and martial education. But later, we will move on to that part. Like all the scholars in China only know how to recite all the masterpieces of the old literacy. And the second part is, which is like a really important invention in the Chinese education. It is called like Imperial education system. We call it like a Keju in Chinese. And it originated from 3 dynasty of Emperor Yang. I think it is like the first really strong emperor of the Chinese ancient history. That's the point, like the growing empire really requires more scholars to work for the governor. So they want to find a way to select all the intellectuals at that time to work for the governor. And they want to find a way which they can select intellectuals regardless of their social and economic status. So this is not only have this educational profound meaning and also political meaning as well, because it has no discrimination against social classes. So I think it is one of the way why China can maintain such a long history of this like feudal society, like the royal family ruins the whole country. It is because this whole imperial examination system provides a way for the unprivileged, like a leverage for the unprivileged class to change their social status. As long as you study, even if you're born in a really poor family, you have nothing, your father is a farmer, doesn't really matter, you can end up in the really powerful governor of the country as well. So this is really give them motivation. So they study really hard instead of having revolution against the royal family. I guess maybe that's the reason. Okay, and so this is the purposeful selection. And after years of practicing, they have a more like standard method to test the scholars. It is like they have a regional test first every 1 year, and they will select the 10% or 30% of the good ones, and they will enter the centralized like a countrywide test every 3 years. And because it is like really hard studying, we have this saying like you have to study 10 years because before you can finally accomplish something. And if you fail the test or you didn't get elected, maybe it is such a failure. So there will be a lot of stories about this imperial examination system and how the scholars just changed their life just because of one exam. And so their category and the content of the exam will be only evolved in these 5 studies. First is military strategy, civil law, revenue and taxation, agriculture and geography, and the Confucius classes. So the main form of the test will be like you write a thesis, and they will choose a topic every year no one knows about before. So when you arrive at the testing place, you will have maybe 3 or 2 days. You can't leave the place. You have to live there, and you finish your thesis, and you express your opinion on the political issues or your own solution for this kind of problem. And the examiner will see your paper, and they will select really good, like the really golden opinions, and the emperor himself will read your paper, and so you will be like, we have this, like you will just go up to the highest level after you get elected from this education, from this examination system. So this is mainly the situation of the Chinese education in the ancient past. And this is like this education, the examination part is really critical for all our Chinese scholars. I think even right now we still feel this really strong desire to have this examination. Maybe it is rooted in our ancient history some way. And following, I would like to talk about the development of new Chinese education system. And it is a really important event in the contemporary Chinese history because we receive a lot of influence of the Western world, and people start to think about changes. So this is like a really crucial change, and this happened in the latest 100 years and has even more profound and lasting influence on our modern society as well. First, it is the Opium War, and we lost this war against all the Western countries. So they have this different regulations to us. So first of all, it's like we have to open our borders to the missionaries. So we have a lot of like missionaries from the Western world, I think many from US and from in England, they arrive in China so they can open their church schools. So like maybe 80 years ago, like a lot of scholars, they will go to church school, and maybe that's the reason why there are still so many Catholic churches and Protestant churches here in China. And that's the point why we get so many influence of the Western world, because before we are like really self-centered country and we think we're best in the whole universe. And then we lost this war, and everyone just realized like we are so weak and we can't really win over the gunpowder and everything. So there's a group of people, they were called like self-stranding movement. They want to learn everything from the Western world. They think it is the only way they can save China from the crisis situation. And that brings the neo-culturalism reform movement, because at that time, people just arguing like all these things we learned from the Confucius. It is not really useful to fight in the war. We know really little about the natural science. Like the Western world, they've developed a really refined system of all the mechanics and like about the movement, but back in China, we have like really scarce knowledge about the natural sciences. So this main force movement is about the government, about the society, but it also brought about really profound changes in the Chinese education as well. And so like a lot of new scholars, they are raised in this crisis, what do you call, crisis time, and they have this thinking like they have to learn something from the outside world. So there are a lot of like overseas Chinese students goes to Western countries. They go to US, they go to France, they go to England, and they went to like Japan as well. So they learn their knowledge and their thinking from the Western countries. And when they came back to China, they bring out this like sciences and democracy. That's the main two themes of this new capitalism reform. That is how they help to establish the prototype of modern university as well. Because my university has a history of almost 110 years, 112 years altogether, yeah. And it is first started from this like really small, but it is a Western-styled school in Zhejiang, and they teach you about not only about the philosophy, but also about natural sciences as well. And so I hope you won't get too bored about the whole ancient Chinese history stuff. But right now I want to talk about the modern Chinese education. And you can see from this picture, there are like really a lot of students or people or all kinds of things in China, because we're such a huge country, and you just feel this competition is so rivaling, like when your life starts, when a baby was born, the competition just starts. So everyone just have to rush and run really, really hard, even from the beginning of their life. And so I would like to talk about the public and private education system. We have both like schools, private schools or public schools, but basically they follow the same timeline. First, it is this obligatory education. It is 5 years of primary school plus 4 years of junior high, and it is compulsory for all the kids, all children over 7 years old. So everyone, when they reach 7 years old, they will be sent to primary school first, and they will go to junior high afterwards. And then you have this 3 years of higher education. You can either choose a senior high school, which is pretty hard and you have to pass tests, or you can go to a professional school, which they will emphasize on the education of more specialized knowledge, and you can become a nurse or become a mechanic afterwards. And so it starts when you're around 16 years old. And finally, it is really like the university education. And after graduating from high school, you can either choose to go to university or like special college. Special college it is like this professional school, but with higher level, and you can receive different degree afterwards. And it starts when you're around like 18 years old. And although you have different schools and education you can choose, but there's a mainstream of education pathway. I believe like 95% of all students will choose this one. It is first primary school or junior high. You build your foundations. We have to learn like different subjects. I think it is similar in like you have to learn science, arts, literacy, and everything. And then you went to senior high, and here you can either choose you want to study human science or natural sciences. You have different subjects. For human sciences, will be more about politics, geography, and for natural sciences, we will have to learn physics, chemistry, and biology. But both of these major students, they have to learn mathematics, Chinese, English. So, and then you go to university, and we have this system. Like I think it is similar to. It is not similar. It is the same as the U.S. system. We call like a bachelor, master, and PhD system. So we have a full year of bachelor, and you know about the general education, specific training, and then you can choose if you want to continue with 2 years of master. It is more about advanced training and study in a particular field. And then if you still want to continue, you can still continue with a PhD. It will be more specific research and study on one issue or topic. And you have about maybe 5 or 4 years if you want to graduate from, and you get your PhD degree. And before I mentioned about this like examination history of China. So if you want to go all the way of this mainstream of education, you have to pass like really two really important exams. First, it is from your junior high to senior high. It is a high school entrance exam contest. So you have different high, like a senior high, and you have a bunch of students who want to enter this high school. So they have to score high enough to compete with others in order to enter the best high school. My high school is considered to be the best of our province, and we only have like 500 opening positions for all the students of this high school, so it's pretty competitive. And the second one is like really famous because it's like all over China. It's called like University Entrance Exam Contest. It is kind of like the critical point, a turning point of your life. You can either succeed or you fail. If you go to a really good university, it means like your life is destined to be a successful person. But you ended up in a like not so prestigious university. Maybe people will just maybe they won't really evaluate your degree that much because there are so many different universities, and only the best, the prestigious ones their degrees really count in China. So, I mean, I can analyze the reason, which is really obvious, why examinations are really important in China. First, education resources is considered to be a scarce resource in China. First, you have really limited numbers of elite universities. That means the really prestigious ones. We have maybe 20 really good universities in the whole China. And second, you have really high pressure of employment. Like I talk about, you can get different degrees in the university. Before, a bachelor degree is considered to be enough. Like if you have a bachelor, you can basically work afterwards. But right now, because everyone has a bachelor degree, so the society push people just to do more. You have to get a master if you want to get a job. So it is the high pressure of employment. And third, it is the regional difference in development and economy. Because in China, we have so many different provinces, and they have vast differences in their development economy. So there'll be some imbalance between different regions. And the other half, you get the large demand for education resources as well. We have a really huge population stress, which everyone knows. And then second, it is because we really think education studying is it is orthodox way of living. If you don't really study, people will just think you are abnormal in some way. You won't be accepted in the mainstream in the mainstream society as well. That's the reason why home education or homeschooling aren't so popular in China at all. Most of the parents will believe in the education system, even they are being criticized for so many years, but they still want their children to receive this orthodox education. So maybe that's the reason why exams seem to be the only solution, the only criteria to choose all different students and to put them in their corresponding place. And it is because before entering university, all you have to do is to pass the exam. It is the main focus of the study. So they have been criticized because they suppress the creativity, and it overemphasized on skills and techniques for the exercise. So basically in high school, in senior high, you have 3 years. And maybe in the first 2 years, you already finished all the things you have to learn. And in the last 1 year, all you have to do is repeat all the exercise and practice just to get enough skills. Then you can do it really fast. Oh, sorry. And it also have this non-innovative teaching and study formula, because if the content they have to test in the exam are standardized, so you don't really have a lot of areas or chances to express your own opinions, feelings. And that all create the overloaded students and teachers as well. For students, it's easier to understand because they have to study everything. And for teachers, they have to endure really a lot of pressure and their requirements from the parents of their students. It's all the parents want the best for their children. So of course they will have high requirement. They will be never satisfied with the teacher's performance. And that's we have this I think there's a saying in America, it's all play and all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You can see this little boy, and he have all this homework stuff, and he has to be kept away from his soccer game and everything. And because people argue why we haven't received any Nobel Prize in Chinese population. We have such a huge population, and we've developed so many years, but still it's a 0 Nobel Prize. Maybe they blame our lack of innovation and creativity to this exam-oriented education. And after this really huge university entrance exam, you finally reach this a heaven of university education. But there are some problems, a debate about education in university as well. It is whether there should be specialized training. And some people argue because people want to find a job after university education. So the university is responsible to prepare students with the ability of career life. And there are like some specific requirements for professions and employment. So the university has to prepare the students for this kind of ability. And the other people argue the university should provide this called general education. It is rooted in the old spirit of education university. It is the elite education. It is not you want to train a mechanics or like a specialty worker. You have to provide this pursuit for excellence, and you have to provide this multidisciplinary requirement in the modern world. And finally, it is like in university, maybe knowledge is not the only goal of your education. It is all about the students how grown up to be a mature people, something like that. And they have been this ongoing debate about how to adjust the university education to meet the requirement of the society, but also to maintain the spirit of the education in university as well. So I've talked about not really complex, but this kind of like a conflicting situation about Chinese education. And next will be a more narcissism part about my life as a student, and involves my education research experience as a Chinese student. And just to make my personal case, I want to point out like my special features about my experience. It is first, I didn't go through this really huge examination to enter the university. I have this pre-admission into university with application. It is because they have like 5% of people, like the university can decide which kind of people they want to admit. So they will go to different really like a prestigious high school, and they will find the good students which are willing to enter university before the examination. So I'm pretty lucky, and I got admitted before the exam. So I got like a really free semester after I get admitted. And the second is like I enter my university with this general science honor program. That means we don't really have to choose our major in the first 2 years. We have a broad selection of subjects. You can either choose study science, engineering, or arts. And because I choose science, so you can choose between like mathematics, physics, biology, and psychology and geology afterwards. And I chose like a major. I specialized my major in biotechnology in the third year, and I just also have been studying like 1 semester in Lund University in Sweden as well, which is really different from the situation in China. They have such a low population, and so I will talk about the comparison between my university and Lund University later. And so first of all, it is our program design of a bachelor degree. We have like you have to get 160 credits just to earn your bachelor degree, and we have like a 2 system which you can categorize the curriculum. They can be either general courses or specialized courses. So there will be 40 points or 120, and they can be either compulsory or selectives. For general courses, it is similar for all the majors. It is like our university is a composite university with maybe all the majors you can think about. We have like medicine, arts, science, engineering, and so basically they want you to learn something about everything. That's the reason why they set this general courses in the first place. And you have requirements to like the minimum score you get is 40 credits. And you have various choices. You can choose maybe between literacy or between movie theory, or you can choose like the ancient poem of China. And the second part is the specialized course. It is designed for different majors. So of course, if you study in civil engineering, it will be totally different from people who study literacy in the first place. And you have fewer selections compared to the general courses. And second, they can be divided either as is compulsory or selective. It's compulsory, it's like more fundamental knowledge. It's like everyone has to study math, physics, chemistry. Like I study science, general science projects, so I have to study all this. And afterwards, you can have a more selective courses when you enter your majors. There will be more different specialties which you can go to different branches afterwards. And maybe this is my university's solution for a balance between generalization and specialties. And they believe it will like provide this interdisciplinary point of view in the field as well. But this is, and since I went to Sweden, but because I only stayed there for 1 semester, and I'm there as an exchange student, so we have more flexible courses designs at that time. So my view about the Lund University is maybe just partially true, but still I want to make some comparisons between my university, which is East, and the Lund University as well. First of all, I think my university, the advantage, like we have really various disciplines and fields. It is like you can really have your own route. You can choose your route whenever you want. And we have like really flexible curriculum schedules because we have so many different courses. And even for one course, you have different time schedules. So basically, everyone share a different time schedule. You don't really hang around with your classmates. We don't really have a concept like classmates. We just have course mates. And third will be more about individual study because, as I mentioned earlier, you don't really have a lot of group to study with. You just basically study on your own. And we have more intensive courses and more competitive environments, as of course it is in China. And I like here focus on group is, I don't want, maybe people will misunderstood me because I thought it would be more about individual study, but here it is the university will more focus on the group of students. They don't really like, they don't really care about individual students. And about Lund University in Sweden, they have like a separate major and program. Once they enter their university, they have to choose their majors. So basically, you just study different courses as soon as you enter different programs. And they have a more fixed class schedule and study plan. It means every semester, you have to choose several courses. You can't choose like different courses in different semesters. It is up to the university's decisions. And third, it will be more about group study because I study with these people majoring like environmental engineering back in Sweden. And before the exam, or even during their normal studying time, they tend to form a group to study together. And their course will be more like concentrated on the practical project. Maybe it is because it is our engineering program in the first place. And the following is the one I like the most about Swedish education. It's like they have like really easy environments, and it only evolves your participation. Like they have this re-exam system. It means you can take the exam like again as long as you pass it before your final graduation, and you have no record of your failing past examinations at all. Like that's what we don't really have back in my university. If you fail the course, it will be recorded for all your entire life. Once you apply for a job or once you apply for graduate school, they will be recorded. You will fail this course, and you only have like 2 chances to retake the exam. Once you can't really graduate at all. And finally, it is their focus on the individual students. Like the professors and the lecturers get plenty of time just for the students. So if you have some problems, you have thinkings about your project, you can always go and discuss with the professors. And they have like counseling services for students as well in there. So you feel like you're all being seen as an individual. You're not being seen as just part of the competitive group. And following is my personal evaluation of my university. So there will be pros and cons. First, the pros. Like the positive side is I'm really grateful for this, what I mentioned already before, this multidisciplinary environment provided by the university. And I even have a minor in Chinese, like Chinese philosophy. I mean, I study biotechnology, and my minor is just the opposite of my studying, which just all thanks to my university, they provide these really golden chances for you to learn whatever you want in the whole universe. And we have like really open academic resources. As you have different faculties, different schools, you can choose whatever courses you want. As a student majoring in English literature, I can choose to take courses in other majors as well. And I'm really thankful to this competitive and cooperative learning environment anyway. Even if I really like the Swedish easy way, but still you feel like you are working hard all the time. You are making the most use of your juvenile years. And last of all is because we have like a really strong link to the cutting edge research. I study biotechnology, and we have the whole school college of life sciences and the school of medicine as our practitioner places. So you can work in this academic lab if you want to. And the professors will be really happy to have you as well. And here and following are the buts. Yeah, the buts, the cons of our education in our university is they are lack of guidance and consulting from individual students, because we enter the university without any knowledge about the university education at all. And during the whole process, they don't really have enough information for us. We just have to wander around and feel all the way ourselves. And I will have to say our practical courses are pretty poorly designed, because they don't really have a lot of equipment, or the teacher will they will be satisfied if you follow all the protocols and you write a nice report afterwards. They don't really care about how much you gained from the practical courses. And third is even if I really like the competitive environment, I mean the too much of workload, both on students and professors, will give you fewer chances to advance your learning. Professors, they are so busy with their own research world, they don't really have so much time for the courses. Normally, you have to really compete for the attention of the professors just to know you and to give you instructions. And following is my research experience as a student. Because I don't really know my major in the first 2 years, so I kind of wandering around in all the fields I'm interested in the following years. And this is my first student project. It is in tissue engineering, and the topic is multiple layer microencapsule construction for drug release. The purpose is we want to build this microencapsule for the sequential release of growth factors. And second will be the regulation of stem cell culture. And the method we use is layer by layer polymer molecules. And then the material is as following. And this is like a illustration of how you constructed it. So first you get a core, and then you can use this layer by layer. You can use one solution, and they will be ionized as positive ions. And then you change solution, and you change the polymer. So there will be another layer attached to the original positive layers. And then like a step by step, you can get a multiple layer of this microcapsule. And second, I work as a trainee in the biomedical lab. It concerns with the molecular pathology of modeling of signal transduction pathway. And this is the protein we have to work with. And the team works on they have to do this gene modification of animal test models to see what this protein will do to the overall effect of the body. And since I only work as a trainee, and this is the training techniques I get to work properly in a biomedical lab. And third, this is my project back in Sweden. I work in the summer project called Novel Biosensor Design. We use a bacteria-based cryogel, and it is used for the online detection and control of glycerol fermentation. And we use I use flow injection system to evaluate the whole system. And this is here, this is this is a flowing system. So here you get a carrier buffer, and you get a pump which pumps the water flow, and then you get a valve which you can inject what you want, the sample, the testing sample, and then you get this biosensor part, which is this polymer created from the bacteria, and they will convert your testing samples into another sample that can be detected here by the spectrometer. So this is like mainly my project, the setup and the main content of my project. And okay, I noticed there are only 3 minutes left, so I guess won't be too many times for the Q&A. Oh yeah, but it is the final slide anyway. So yeah, but for the Q&A, I mean, because I'm wondering if anyone have questions.
Well,
if anyone
thank
have
you very
questions.
much.
Sorry.
Si tenéis alguna pregunta, if you have any questions, it's a good moment. Very nice talk.
Oh, thank you. Really?
Thank you for your talk. How many chances do you have to pass the exam to get into high school and to get into university?
For high school, you only have 1 chance. So if you screw up, you just you go to like your whole life is pretty screwed up. But for high school, it is like you have, if you didn't go to the dream university you want, you can take how many times. So you have, but you have to wait for the next year. So we have colleagues who have tasted test maybe 2 or 3 times, but that's pretty hard choices for Chinese students because yeah. I mean, I don't really want to waste another 1 more year just for the exam. So.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay. Thank you for listening and attention.